Hi, this is David again, and I wanted to do this video on for young people. I didn't think when I look at my demographics that there would be many young people at all that would look at these kinds of pieces of information, education stuff on the Mormon Church. Most of my demographics are, 50 to 65-year-old people, but I'm noticing they're changing a little bit, picking up a lot more younger people. 20% are females, and I want to say something to the young people who are starting their lives, that their lives are looking bright and down the road. Some of you may be college students, some may be high school. My demographics are showing it can go way down to lower ages. I didn't have that privilege when I was a kid. When I was raised in the Mormon Church, I was raised in the Mormon Church, and there was nothing I could do about it. I simply want to say a few things about being a child. I dealt with young people my whole professional life in residential facilities, and kids that didn't fit, kids that had questions and didn't accept all of the standards and things of our society. If you're a young person today, the world is very different than when I was a child. When I went to junior high, high school, and college, there were no computers. They didn't exist. The internet, it didn't exist. For us, at my age, at 64, to try to even integrate how to get these cameras to work and microphones and lighting, oh my God, this is kind of a whole new world to us. You kids have been playing on keyboards ever since you were 2 or 3 years old, and your iPods and your iPads and all the other kinds of satellite, Sirius radio. It goes on and on. You're in a very different world. So let me try to cover the gap between your world and my world. My world, I had to go to a library when I was doing college, and I had to pull out sometimes 25, 30 books and put them on the tables at BYU to try to do a report or some kind of a assignment. You young people, good Lord, my 7th grader comes in here, she has her papers all together, she goes down to my computer, hits the printer, out comes the paper, and she hits the internet and finds the information she needs, she copies it, comes out and finishes a report that would have taken me hours and hours and hours, or days and days to do in my time. Well, I'm not trying to be the good old boy and things were good in the good old days. That's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of it is your life is going to be determined on the way you live it. If you're going to live your life for somebody else, you're going to be an unhappy person. Certainly, you have to be reasonably obedient to your parents if they're paying for you to eat and to house you and to move you around the community. You're dependent, and you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. That, I'm telling you, as a grown person, I did that kind of crap when I was young, and it's a bad political move. If you're in their house, then you just basically smile and you do the things that they ask you to do. However, nobody can control your mind or my mind. Now, if you get into a Mormon cult, that's not a true statement. They can control your mind. If you've already had early morning seminary, I didn't have the seminary in Utah at all. I had it outside of Utah. Went every morning. My dad took me into seminary, and I sat there for an hour and was indoctrinated in the Mormon Church. If you're in the church now, you're either in young men's or young women's program and scouting. I hated scouting. You might. Hey, you like to build fires and, sleep on the ground with 12 guys in a tent? Who am I to say there's anything wrong with that? I just don't like it. I lived my life over 50 years. That's a half a century for other people, for my parents, mostly for the Mormon Church. Once they got a hold of me, because my parents brought me into the church at about 7, 8 years old, I didn't have any choice. The cult seemed right to me. So I believe their philosophies, I believe their tenets and their doctrines and their philosophies. Now let me tell you where I go a little different now. I still got 2 kids at home. One is 13 and one is 8. when I was a Mormon, if you made a sexual mistake, if somebody felt you up, or someone grabbed your penis or your vagina, oh my God, the death and the firing squad is what I thought was going to come upon me at any moment. We've learned a lot in the world. I remember when in the 60s we invented the birth control pill. We didn't always have that. And after it was invented, oh my God, the Mormon church, now they didn't have power over your penis and your vagina and the birth of babies. They basically lost some of their power. So they were against birth control with the pill. It was dangerous. It was this. Well, there was more estrogen in it than there should have been when it first came out. Didn't kill anybody, but they've lightened that up over the years, and it's much more accurate and dependable, and the side effects are not bad. My point is this. At 12 or 13, everybody in the world gets erections or they find their clitoris. That's just life. You go to school, you see somebody that's extremely attractive to you. Sometimes it's infatuation. Sometimes it's really a person that you would enjoy being around. Start doing your homework with them, walking home from school, maybe going to the movies, and there's a closeness that begins to develop. And who can say? Your parents can't say, and I can't say. Is it love? Is it lust? Is it just friendship? Only you know that. And you don't have a lot of experience in life yet to determine which categories that might fall into. But you know this, your body is interested. Your body is interested. That's the way life is. And there's not going to be a lot of things that are going to change that. Ever since man has been on the earth, I am sure that teenagers have raging hormones. Now, there's going to be two sides to this story, okay? I'm not going to say, oh, gee, you want to go ahead and just screw everything that moves and, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. And I'm not going to say over here, gee, let's be a nun. Mormons are black and white. There's no gray. There's no exceptions. There's no nothing. There's no thinking. There's no judgment. It's just this is what the prophet says. Your parents repeat it. Your seminary teachers repeat it. Your Sunday school teachers repeat it. Your scoutmasters repeat it. It is just over and over hammering that you should be ashamed that you have sexuality. That you have a penis and it gets erections, and you have a clitoris and a vagina and it feels good. There's nothing wrong with that. That is human sexual development. Now, here's where all of the situations come up. Some people are born and they want to have sex once a year. That's good enough for me, once a year. Boys and girls, men and women. There's other people that are born that if they have sex 3 or 4 times a day, that's still not enough. Wow, that's quite a range. That's quite a range. When our sexuality comes on us may not be the same time that our development. You may be growing boobs and having your period, but you're not interested in boys at all. Or you may have no boobs, and you're in 5th or 6th grade, and you're crazy about boys. Sexuality in human beings develop very uniquely. No one is the same as anybody else. Go to a buffet and see if you can find 2 plates at a buffet that are exact. You won't. That's the way human sexuality and development is. Now, any young people watching this, my heart goes out to you. You're in a tough age, in a tough stage. You have birth control. You've certainly got condoms. You've certainly got birth control pills. You've got oh God, my mind has slipped. It'll come to me. But you can stop a baby from being born. Now, here's the problem. You're a little embarrassed about your body. You don't want people looking at your body naked. Well, that's normal. I don't know why, but that's normal for human beings. And so when you start to get really, really sexually attracted to somebody, you don't say, gee, would you put this condom on me? And she has to look at your erection and take it out of the package. You know, I think that takes a little bit of the spontaneity of what you've got planned. Diaphragm, that's the word I was trying to get to. So if you're a female and you're hot and you're kissing and making out and you go, oh, excuse me, George, let me put my diaphragm in. See, that just kind of burns off the interest, doesn't it? There's the problem. A A lot of times we know what to do, but we just don't do it. That's the problem with raging hormones and sexuality. When you, as a young person, get excited, man, you're like a freight train. Nothing's going to stop that freight train. And you end up having intercourse, and babies usually don't come from one intercourse. In one marriage that I had, it did. One intercourse, a baby was conceived. So it is possible. I'm living evidence. I have seen it, I've done it, and my little child, I won't mention her name, now I've narrowed it to 50%, but you can get pregnant on one intercourse. Most of the time you don't. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I've told my girls this. I personally don't believe in abortion in my family. Now, if other families want to have an abortion, that's their own business. I could give a rat's ass. If your mother and your father and you want to have an abortion, I could care less. But if my girls come home or my boys come home, and I did have a boy come home, and he had gotten a Native American girl pregnant, and she called me from clear across the country, and she said, "Grandpa, I'm carrying one of your grandchildren, but I don't think I can take care of it. Is it okay and I get your permission to abort it?" That was shit. That was a phone call. I didn't have any preparation or thought process. This little girl's calling me and goes, you know, "Give me permission to abort your grandchild." And I go, oh my God. That's when I found out that I am in my family. Now, if a child was seriously damaged, we knew about that before it was born, retarded, I probably would go ahead and go for an abortion there. But if the child is healthy and there's no reason not to give it life, I would say, hey, let's give it life. Well, back in my days, if you girls got pregnant, you had a big problem. You had to go to a secret place or to a grandmother or somebody else's house, drop out of school, and your life was sucked. Yeah, that was the end of your teenage and basically your adult life. Today, you girls are in a much better situation as far as being able to go to school, have a baby, try to care for a baby, and there's parents that have resources, and the stigma means the bad feelings that your parents and society have for letting your vagina get out of control isn't there as much as it used to be. There's still stigma by being a teenage mom, but you know what's funny? Here it is in all my videos. You're a teenage mom. Where's the guy? Where's his responsibility? It was his erection that made that baby, but guess what? It's your vagina and your body that has to give birth and carry it, and then guess what? You have to baby it, you have to nurse it, you have to let it grow up, and you have to take thousands of hours a month out of your life to care for another human being, while Mr. Erection is down at the football game playing with his friends, and all of the words he whispered, "I love you, I love you, I love you, let me screw you," he doesn't remember those words. And when you say, "Well, gee, you're the father," he goes, "Well, you got to prove it." Being young is hard. It's very, very hard. Each one of you is different. Each one of you is unique. Each one of you have sexual powers that are different than your friends around you. Sex once a year is normal. Sex 3 times a day is normal. Now, what do? Do you follow the traditional ideas of Christianity and Muslim and most religious organizations that you should basically withhold any sexual relationships until you're married? You marry as a virgin. Well, I think that's an idealistic and a good goal. There's some people that make that goal. I'm going to tell you right now, most don't. Most of us weren't virgins when we were married. Now, I happened to be. I was inundated in the Mormon church, and when I first got married, my first wife was a virgin, and I was a virgin. What that means is that you bounce around in bed on your honeymoon night like 2 fish out of water, and you have no idea what the hell you're doing. And that goes on for about 1 year to 3 years, and then after that you kind of get the hang of it. So there's certainly a lot of variation of whether you're a virgin or not. And again, in my day, you kids didn't have to wrestle with this stuff. Your days are harder. You have the same desires, wish, hopes, dreams, aspiration, and bodies. But the environment you're in is very, very different. I've seen the girls wearing the bracelets to high school and junior high school, indicating by their colors what they're willing to do sexually. You can feel me up, you can put your finger in my vagina, I'll give you a blow job, I like cunnilingus. We didn't have that. We had virgin pins. Now you're going to laugh. We had girls that wore virgin pins. I know they weren't virgins, not by personal experience, by rumor. Okay, I didn't know, but I thought, that girl should not be wearing a virgin pin. Why is her phone number in the bathroom? Anyway, you kids now have the ability to stop babies from being born. We didn't. We didn't. If we had intercourse, there was a more than 60% chance we're going to end up with a baby. The problem with you young people is you don't understand the raging hormones. You're not going to take 30 seconds to put on a condom. You're not going to take 10 seconds to put in a diaphragm. You're not going to tell your mom and dad, oh, I'm sexually active, please get me some birth control pills, and you're 15. Good grief. Would the shit hit the fan then? Or you tell me. What do? Well, there are STDs. Most of them are invisible. You may have the best looking girlfriend or the best buff guy in the world, and you decide to give him a blowjob, and then suddenly 2 months later you got sores all over the front of your mouth and face, and your friends and your parents, and you go, what the hell? Well, you got herpes. It's invisible, you can't see it, and now it's going to be with you forever. Well, as long as you're a human being and alive, that's going to break out every 2 months, 5 months, whatever, under stress, sunlight, other kinds of things affect herpes. You may be a male and suddenly, you're happy and you're the buff guy, or maybe you're going to get lucky and this girl wants you to go down on her, which means lick her vagina, and you do, and then you tell all your buddies, man, that was fun, that was kind of cool, I liked going down on Becky there, and then suddenly 3 months later, or 6 months later, you decide to give blood at the local scouting, Scoutorama. And suddenly they test you and you have AIDS. You picked up AIDS. Somehow that blood that cut or whatever in her vagina, you licked on, and now you got AIDS. Years ago, in my day and age, if you got syphilis, basically you died. You went insane, it went to the brain, and you died. Nowadays, penicillin will knock syphilis and gonorrhea out within months, and you don't have huge physical problems that plague you. So STDs are still present, and AIDS certainly is not the death warrant that it was in my day, but it certainly is a shortening now of life. You have a salad of drugs that can delay AIDS and the effects of it. We didn't. So there's another risk factor. God, you want to have sex and you want to enjoy your body and you just like this person or love this person, or when they come near you or look at you, you just, I don't know, there's just something inside of us that goes, God, I just want that person. So the delay in putting in some kind of contraception, Matt may end up with a baby. Is it as bad as it used to be? No. But is it bad? Yes. Most girls do drop out of school. Most girls now are what we call, modern called, a lipped cupcake. Someone has lipped the cupcake and nobody wants to put their tongue on that cupcake ever again. It's already been licked. So, what do? Each one of you is going to have to decide for yourself. There's going to be times that you're just really, really horny and you just want sex. That's normal. That's normal. Girls, on your period and your hormones in your body over 30, 31 days, some days you're going to just be as hot as a firecracker. Other days you don't want sex if it was the last thing in the world. But boy, when those two things come together for the boy and the girl at the right time, you've got fireworks and you've got the sex show. Now, my 2 cents. I like to see my girls be married as virgins. Here's the problem. Here's one of the problems. Well, like I told you, when I married my first virgin wife, she jumped around on the bed like a fish out of water and thought that that was, sexual maneuvers. I didn't think it was, but I didn't know what to do either. So I looked as stupid as she did. Do you want somebody with a little bit of sexual experience? Well, that's up to you. That's up to you. I'm not here to persuade you one way or the other. I'm here to persuade you to think and to study and then to know yourself and then make your own damn decisions. Don't let the Mormon church and don't let the Catholic church or your parents, you certainly have a right to, or an obligation to be loyal and true to your parents. But for a parent to say, you can't use your vagina or your penis, I don't know. That's kind of going a long ways with parental control and authority. Here's what I've done. I'd like to see my girls married, virgins, if they decide to do that. What I've done is I've told my girls everything about sex. I've told them, cunnilingus, blowjobs. I've given them all of the phrases, all of the good, all of the bad, and they know their bodies very, very well. And they have no problem in talking about sex, no problem in saying dad this, dad that, and things that my other family girls would have never said. So they're open and they're free about their bodies and about sex. Now, I've got one that's just a beautiful girl. Both of them are extremely beautiful. But I got one that is popular. And the older kids are now, boys and girls, are noticing her and pulling her into the older group. I warned her before she ever went to school. I said, you don't look like a 7th grader. You look like a 9th grader. And it's not going to take the boys long to figure that out. And it hasn't. 2 months. What do I want for her? Well, I want her to be at ease with her body. I want her to be comfortable being a girl. There's nothing dirty or negative about a penis or a vagina. A period is not a filthy thing. It's a natural process of being female, and the little egg didn't get fertilized, so it's going to fall out, and the uterus, which was ready for a pregnancy with extra blood up there, it doesn't need to be needed, so it gets flushed out. No big deal. No big deal. So, can she hold hands? Of course. Can she go to the football games? Of course. She has to sit in the bleachers, not under the bleachers, if you know what I mean. Can she ride with kids? I'm cautious. Some kids drive like idiots. They're screwballs. Some kids will drink and then say to my daughter, hey, I'll take you home. Nope. Oh, I'm not drunk. Come on. And then what I've raised and cherished my whole life is now on the inside of a windshield, broken, with facial scars all over her. So I'm going to be cautious who she rides with. I'm going to be cautious. I would rather have her drive. Now, a lot of parents are not going to want to hear that, but this tape is not really watched by a lot of parents. It's watched by younger people. I would rather have my daughter have a way to leave the party and say, hey, I'm just going to go and get her keys and get in her own car and go home. If everybody's screwing and drinking and shooting drugs and snorting cocaine, I want her to get up and leave. If she doesn't have transportation, now she looks like an idiot. You go, John, will you take me home? Frank, would you take me? Now, everyone's going to say, oh, come on, stay here. That's my take on it. I'm going to be very careful who she rides with. Most of the cars still have back seats. We did in the 60s. And we used the back seats in the 60s. And I assume kids in 2011 and 12, while I'm still alive, still use back seats. I don't want her out after dark. I don't care how old she is. I don't want her out after dark unless she's escorted by a boyfriend who I know and trust, and that she is going somewhere to a supervised event that's not alcohol and drug related. She doesn't have to hang out with the nerds. She can hang out with popular kids and play sports and be part of the group. But what I've trained my girls to do is say no, to set their own standards and say, yeah, you can put your arm around me, but if it slips down onto my boob, I'll rip it off and beat you with it. That's their standard. They have decided that's where they want to be. Now, I can't control that. My little girl may be, 8th, 9th grade, whatever, and suddenly just head over heels fall for a guy, and they're kissing or making out, and suddenly she gets all wet, and she wants, sex and he wants to put his hand down her panties, what can I do? I'm not there. Parents are stupid. They're not there. You can't threaten a child at home and control their penis and vagina out in the world. Stupid. You have to put it in their head. What is your standard? What is your way of living your life? Let me give you a funny little example this morning, which just happens to come to my mind. A teenager came in and said, "Dad, will you take me to school? It's raining." Well, it's usually not raining, but she thinks it's raining because she doesn't want her hair to get messed up. So I get out of bed and I'm in my underwear and I'm putting on my pants and shirt and socks, and she's in there on her iPod and everything. And I said to her, I said, "You know, why is it that you can stand in here and watch me get dressed, but I can't stand in your room and watch you get dressed?" Now, I'm teaching a principle that is going to go into her head, I hope, and stay there. Stay there. You teach and you teach and you teach. 20 minutes later, I said to her, "Honey, what was the answer to my question? That you can stand and watch me get dressed for the morning, but I can't stand and watch you." She said, "Well, Dad, I don't know, but I think it's because I have boobs." I said, "Well, you're close, but that's not the whole answer." "Well, I don't know. What's the answer?" Now, when you have a teenager that says, "What's the answer?" or "I am interested," as a parent, that is a teaching moment. And I simply said to her, "Honey, because you're a girl." "Oh, I remember. Boys want the girls all the time, and we don't care." Bam! There it is. It's in her head. It's in her head. I didn't have to put a chastity belt on her. I didn't have to scare her. I didn't have to ground her. I didn't have to threat and make her scared of her vagina. It's in her head. I'm a girl. My kids were giving me a hard time the other day when they wanted to go outside and play, and we're in a safe area in the dark. And I said, "No, I don't want my girls out after dark." And they said to me, "Dad, why can't we go out and play if we're together and everything?" And I said, "Well, let me tell you the reason. They're asking a question. This is a teaching moment. Why can't we go out, Dad, after dark?" I said, "Well, because you have a vagina." "Well, really? Well, why?" I said, "Well, because boys and men sometimes have no judgment. Sometimes they're mean. Sometimes they're cruel. They hide behind bushes and trees. And when you're outside riding your skateboard and you're inline skating and shooting your basketball, there may be a man with a penis or a boy that jumps out of the bushes, throws you down on the ground, rips your panties off, and puts his penis in you." Oh. Oh. See? See? In here. In here. Now when I say to my girls, "Be home at dusk." "Okay, Dad." They know why they're coming home. I didn't invent males. I didn't invent females. I just happen to be a male. I've raised a lot of females, and I know a little bit about life. And I was a teenager once. Believe it, this body was a teenager once, and I know that that's probably, I'm going to have to put this video under comedy, not education. But young people, make up your minds early how you're going to live your life. Don't be afraid of sex. Don't be afraid of your bodies. Don't be afraid of being a human being. And it's tough. You're 19, 20, 23 years old and you get married and you have absolutely no sexual experience, and suddenly you're naked in bed with a man or a woman, and you're supposed to be able to please each other and know how to do this and not get pregnant, and it goes on and on. I mean, it's like going from the blackness of night into the sunlight of day, and you know, it's shock. It is total shock. So please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that early intercourse or early sexual activity is okay. It comes with a lot of ramifications. And let me make sure, as a psychologist and as a person at a master's level, I will tell you something that the world knows that you may not know. A girl never recovers from an abortion. I don't care what you say. I've never seen a girl recover from an abortion. They always feel guilty and they're always sad about that event. I've never seen a girl recover from rape. It's not possible. I've done individual counseling, I've done group counseling, I've done every type of counseling and seen it. Can't be done. You go outside one time just to play and you got a vagina and you get raped, you put yourself in a bad place at a bad time, you're never going to recover. It's not going to happen. Now, let me give you the psychological differences, and hopefully if you're boys or girls watching this, you'll understand. Boys are designed and built that they want to have intercourse 24/7. We produce 250 million sperm in one ejaculations. You poor little girls, you can produce one egg every month. Our sperm's going to come out whether we want it to or we don't, because if we don't masturbate or have sex with somebody, we're going to have a wet dream, and every whatever it is, 2-3 weeks, whatever, our bed's going to be covered with sperm, and the sperm came out because we had a sexual dream. Now let me give you the most important thing I can possibly give you in this particular presentation. Girls do not give their vaginas to boys without their hearts being attached to it. Never happened, never will happen. Girls don't just screw to screw. They screw because they have emotions and feelings towards that male that they want to please and that they may see as the father of their children, future children, and a good man and someone who may fall totally in love with me and marry me. Vaginas come with hearts. Penises ride alone. The men will say, the boys will say, oh, I love you. You're the most beautiful thing in the world. Oh, I'd love to marry you, but I'm only in 9th grade. Can we get married when we graduate? I love you. You're the most beautiful. I will never tell anybody. This is our secret. Oh, shit. Girls, don't be stupid. That is to get an erection in your panties. Those words are made by the erection. It's not true. 99% of the time, it's not true. Because if a man respects you and loves you, he may kiss you, put your arms around you, dance close, rub up against you. But if you're a girl that goes, honey, I really, like to save full sexual activity until we're married, he'll respect that. He will tell the penis, this is off grounds. This is out of the boundaries. We're not going to hurt this girl. So, let me be as clear as I can possibly be. You girls have emotional feelings attached to sexual activity. Your vagina comes with a lot of emotion and a little piece of your heart each time you use it with a boy. You boys, you'll screw trees, you'll screw light bulbs, you'll screw pillows, you'll do anything. It doesn't even have to be alive. There's a big difference, girls and boys, between that. Be wise. Know yourself. Know males and females, gender. Know your society, what you've been taught, what may be true, what may not be true. If you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. If you have intercourse with somebody and find out, he was just saying, oh, I love you, and after his erection goes soft, he doesn't love you anymore. If you make a mistake, you're not a bad person. You're not an evil person. You're a lit cupcake. I'm just saying that to be funny. But you have an entire life ahead of you that you can change your mind and you can say, once I've learned, it did hurt my heart and it does make me feel like shit and I'm not going to do that again. Well, there's a lot of people, my second wives and third, whatever, we're never virgins. There's a lot of men that will marry attractive, good girls that are good mothers that are not virgins. So that's not the end of the world, but you have to decide how you're going to process that event. Was it a learning experience or was it a total screw-up? And if it ruins your life, you let it ruin your life. It doesn't have to. So I'm a word of caution. I'm a word of reasonableness. You should be proud that you're a sexual being. You should be proud that you can reproduce and be a father and a mother. Make your own mind up. If your parents are pushing you and threatening you and scaring you, when you get an erection or you're a girl and you get all wet and you're interested, that fear Goes way to the back of your mind. But if you have good parents who have told you, what are the consequences? What do you want to do with your life? If you want to go to college, having a baby's a bitch. Having a baby's a bitch. Go to college and try to change that baby in a classroom. It's not going to be popular. If you can put the standards and the truth, parents, please don't lie to your young people. How many parents do I know that say, well, if you have a baby or you have intercourse before you're married, it will ruin your life. And then you look at the parent, and they were screwing since 11th grade. They went on a mission for the Mormon church. They're this, they're that. They're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. Parents need to pass to their children all of the sexual knowledge they have, and to allow their children on the computers, the internet. They're going to hear it in school, and when they hear stuff in school, I remember one of them said to me, Dad, is it true that when you have intercourse you can get stuck together and you got to go to the hospital and they need to take you apart? I said, gee, I've never heard of that. I have a master's degree, I've never heard of that. I've taught sexuality at the college level, I've never heard of that. They're going to hear that stuff. Hopefully they'll come home to you and say, Dad, do you get stuck together? No. Well, do old people have sex? Yeah, they do. What about menopause? What's that? Well, that's when women, the little egg doesn't come down anymore and they can't have a baby. And what's impotent? Well, that's when a man gets older and his penis will not get hard enough to go inside. Oh, okay. They know. They know. If these kids and you kids that look at this, if you know, you're safe. I didn't have to tell my girl when she started babysitting now. And I mentioned to her, I didn't have to retell her. I said, you know, when dads come home that you're babysitting for and they're drunk and you're laying there on the couch and their wife is passed out drunk upstairs, they may come downstairs and kind of be interested in you. You got the vagina. No, I know. That you call Dad, I'll come and get you, and you let people know no one touches your breasts or looks or touches your vaginas. That's it. They're yours and you control them. So a lot of girls will get a crush on someone that they babysit. He's cool. He's 10 or 15 years older than she is, and he's got a beard, and you know, he drinks, and he's got lots of girlfriends and a wife. You'll get crushes on your teachers at school, people in church that you know. Be careful. Sex is a blast. It's one of the best things in life. Enjoy it. Masturbation never hurt anyone. When I was a child, they used to say, well, if you masturbate, you'll go blind. Well, I was always going to the doctor, the eye doctor, and checking my vision, if you know what I mean. One of my kids said, well, Dad, can I do it until I need glasses? Just a joke. Masturbation, if you do masturbation in the privacy of the bathroom or your room or nobody's home, it can't hurt your body. And it really is not going to hurt your mind. And I'm going to tell you something, because I am an advocate of masturbation. You won't be that horny. When you go to school and you've already had an orgasm, you're a man or woman. You're not really all that hot and interested when the other guys and girls are going, hey, let's get together. You're going, nah, I'm okay. Because you've controlled your own body. And you've done it in a harmless way. Who's ever gotten pregnant masturbating? Who's ever gotten a STD masturbating? What's the harm? Oh, you won't be able to adjust in marriage. Baloney. Baloney. If you girls don't know what pleases you, it doesn't take much to please a man. Just a hole. He's pleased. But you girls are much more complex with that clitoris. If you haven't been touching that or orgasming or knowing how your body operates, you can't give him instructions. You can't say, well, go to the right, go to the left. No, that doesn't feel good. No, don't touch that. No, do this, do that. And most of the girls, I don't want to exaggerate, probably 50% of women, when they're married, need to reach down and rub their clitoris to come to an orgasm while his penis is inside of her. That's not unusual. That's not strange. For a woman to know her body and to know what makes her happy, what makes her excited very quickly, and she's not married and not involved in sexual relations, go for it. Men, the same way. Go for it. And remember now, our society thinks that men who look at pornography, because we are visual beings, we like to see breasts and vaginas. That's what makes Mr. Penis work very, very well. Women are not that way. Again, know your gender and know what makes it work. So when the men go on, the boys go on the computer and look at naked people, it doesn't mean they're in love with them. It just means that they want to ejaculate and be done with it. Girls, here's what's interesting, and most people don't know. Girls are a little bit interested, especially young girls, because they're curious about penises and what they do. Girls will read novels because, see, it's in the heart. And girls will read, oh, he came running through the flowers, and the clouds were in the sky, and he was screaming, I love you, and they embraced. That's your pornography. That's your pornography, but society doesn't see it or know about it, so they don't say anything. So when you masturbate, oh, you're more guilty. Don't worry about it. If you like to look at pictures, look at pictures. If you want to know your body, get to know your body. If you don't, and you think Jesus is watching, for God's sakes, don't touch your penis or your vagina. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm telling you, as a psychologically trained person that's done a lot of counseling and been with a lot of people, that masturbation physically doesn't hurt anybody. And emotionally, it hurts you if you're in a cult, or if you're in a religion, or an organization, or a family where your parents are going to go bullshit. If they find you masturbating and walk in on you and they go apeshit, that's going to hurt you. Keep your doors locked. Stay private. Or don't masturbate. Hopefully, I've given some overall information on human sexuality. It's a fun thing. It's a good thing. It can be a dangerous thing. It can be disease-ridden, and it can break your heart. So be careful, be wise, know yourself, and then parents, put it in their damn heads. You can't put a teenager on a leash and control their vagina and their penis. You can't do that. Don't be stupid. If you love your kids, protect them. Protect them with knowledge. Thank you very much.